Hi, it's Thursday the 20th of June, and once again I'm standing by William Lucy Way, and I'm going to go into Port Meadow and see whether I can find Black Jack's Hole. So please follow me.
Mum?
Really?
Now, this is not the main point of my visit, but it looks as though some of the university exams have just finished. There are 3 people ahead of me, just out of shot I think, wearing what's called subfusk, which is a combination of white shirt or blouse and black skirt or trousers and black jacket and also a white bow tie. Students have to wear that for official exams, including finals, the end of the university course exam, and so it's very likely that if they are wearing that, they'll just have finished their exams. Exams are quite stressful, so it's less likely that you'd be wearing that stuff and taking a break in the middle of the exam period. So Black Jack's Hole is on the Thames, somewhere on the Thames as it passes along Port Meadow, apparently. This is the path across Port Meadow that I've followed before. And those are the students, actually, with their subfusk. I came along this way about 2 weeks ago, and I need to be able to go a little way north up this side of the river. When I came last time, the ground wasn't dry enough to let me do that, but I'm hoping that because we've had some fairly hot weather over the past few days, it will be now dry enough. Okay, well, yeah, it looks as though it's some sort of student picnic party, possibly. Forgive me if my motion is rather choppy, the ground is quite uneven. Right, so I want to turn right. So I'm now passing Bossom's Marina on my left. They're the people who own the boatyard and boat supply shop. Right, and the ground here is much drier than it was last time. I don't want to break an ankle though, so I'm going to be careful. And I can see that the Thames bends round to the left there. This is a very odd treescape. Okay, well, what I'm doing is walking along the east bank of the Thames as it passes through Port Meadow. And I tried to do that in the previous video inspecting Port Meadow and wasn't able to because the ground was too wet. And as I thought, or as I hoped, it has dried out a lot since then. And I'll probably be able to get all the way to Wolvercote. What I was hoping to find was Black Jack's hole, though I'm somewhat stymied by not knowing whether it's real and not knowing exactly where it is. I'd been looking up stuff about streams and came across a reference to it in a website called Dark Oxford or some such. And the website talks about the legend of Black Jack, who was some sort of river-dwelling goblin who would drag unwary bathers to their deaths. And the site compares him with other similar figures in English mythology. For example, apparently people have legends of a figure called Jenny Greenteeth, a so-called river hag, who often has long hair and sharp teeth and might be known as Ginny Greenteeth or Jenny Greenteeth or Wicked Jenny, and who drags unwary swimmers underwater. Apparently there's a mythological figure, I'd never heard of this one until today, called a Grindelow. And that's actually what's around Yorkshire or Lancashire, a small humanoid sort of figure with scales and a green complexion. sharp claws and teeth, and long arms with long fingers, lives in ponds and marshes, and again does the usual thing of dragging people underwater. You may know the Anglo-Saxon epic Beowulf. Beowulf is a hero who helps the king of the Danes, who is being attacked by a monster called Grendel. Beowulf eventually kills Grendel and then has to deal with Grendel's mother, who he also dispatches. And one of the things I read about Grindylows suggests that the name Grindylow may be related to Grendel. Of course, you can make almost any pair of words related if you push hard enough, so I don't know how much reliability to put in that, but it's an interesting connection. So we've come from Port Meadow to Blackjack's Hole to Jenny Greenteeth, Wicked Jenny, and to Grindylows, and possibly to Grendel and the famous Beowulf. What I still don't know is exactly where Blackjack's Hole is, or whether it's anything more than a name attached to a map by a few Google Map users with slightly too much time on their hands. But from having seen pictures, those trees there, the cluster of 3, look familiar. So I think Blackjack's Hole might be right there. That's sort of suggested by, or sort of confirmed. Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing my screen. I don't know whether these will show up, but I can see lots of shapes that must be geese, only the sun's glaring so much that I can't see them very clearly. Could be a mixture of normal English geese and Canada geese, of which there are quite a lot around here. The Dark Oxford page said that the current here used to be swifter and the river deeper than it is now, so correspondingly more dangerous. Well, there are the geese. Okay, well, here I am, halfway up the east bank of the Thames towards Wolvercote. Over there are the horrible Castle Mill flats and the entrance to Port Meadow from Walton Well Road. And I can just see that's the engineering department, isn't it? Just at the bottom of the Banbury Road. So I don't have much time this afternoon, but I did want to get out while the weather was still nice and see how feasible it was to use this bank again. And it looks as though I'll probably be okay now for the rest of the summer, as long as we don't have too much rain, which is great. So I'm going to go back. It really is a very odd landscape somehow. There's something about the texture of the ground. The dung and feathers everywhere. The shapes of the trees again. That the funny, slightly unnerving greenness of the ground cover. Like one of those 1950s science fictional landscapes where one too many atomic reactors has gone off and the vegetation has mutated. There's something that just doesn't feel quite right about it. And although people are doing so, I don't really think I'd want to lie down on this ground and sunbathe. Well, let me walk back. Someone's parked a canoe. Parking and mooring, now that's a funny thing. Why is it that you park a car but you moor a boat? I mean, they're both basically the same action, rendering it stationary. So why not use the same word? Wow, there's a big party going on over there. Now actually it's quite a long time since I've walked up here, and also quite a long time since I walked up the other bank. I hadn't realised how extensive the landing stage, or whatever you call it, is. I know I keep saying this, but this really is a weird landscape. On the other hand, I wasn't brought up on rivers, I was brought up on hills. So I'm much more used to different groupings of vegetation. I see that the middle of Port Meadow is still flooded. This really is earning its keep as a floodplain. Maybe part of the oddity of this landscape is that it's flooded for most of the year, or at least very, very wet, which does unusual things to the soil. A friend of mine who had lived in Africa said that this reminded him of nothing so much as the African veldt. And I can sort of see what he means as far as the hoof prints go, if those are hoof prints, though I don't know what sort of large mammals would be around here to make those holes. Horses and cows, I suppose, because this is common land and horses and cows are allowed to graze on it in the summer. And there they are. I'm going to try to keep away from the horses a bit because I don't entirely trust them. I'm not really acquainted with horses beyond reading Dick Francis books, but they're big and they have strong muscles. And hooves, 4, which is a really excessive number. There is the spire of St Barnabas, with some castle mill flats either side of it. That flat that's sticking out to the right, furthest back with the long black roof, that really does remind me of a barn, or possibly an engine shed. It's horrible. And you think, this is the university, it's had 1,000 years of building beautiful colleges. Couldn't it have tried to reflect the form of St Barnabas in the flats and create a harmonious construction, a harmonious grouping of buildings that way? There's a lot of banding to the vegetation, or so it seems from here. It might be an illusion, which must say something about different types of soil or different levels of water, literally levels of water possibly. Different micro-environments all grouped together in one meadow. It's interesting to see the way these clumps of whatever space themselves out. That's the Medley Sailing Club. That's the Medley Bridge, or Rainbow Bridge, which goes over to the cafe and the other side of the Thames. Bossom's Marina once more. Now, what did I say about the banded nature of the vegetation? there's a band of those yellow flowers. And the vegetation there does have a sort of pinkish tinge, or maybe dark purple. That's what it is. Yep, I've just smelt it. I'm fairly sure that that is peppermint. Which is a member of the same family as sage, mint, and other hairy edible herbs that I can't remember the names of, all of them at the moment. The family used to be called Labiaceae, but it's probably been renamed. Anyway, peppermint likes water. And I think it has some special adaptations to prevent osmosis going too far and destroying its cells. It's certainly sort of shinier and, I don't know how to put it, more rubbery than most of the plants around here. I'm trying to work out what that black thing sticking vertically up in the air to the right of the two cranes is. It's roughly at the end of Roger Dudman Lane, which is the private road that the Castle Mill flats were built alongside. So maybe it's part of their heating system. In which case, maybe if I were to climb up one night and drop a load of falafels or something down to block the heating, it would stop working and they'd all have to be abandoned and demolished. The nettles grow in clumps. So again, why do they do that rather than just spreading out continuously and overtaking everything? There's that black thing. Closer now. Maybe a phone mast?
Canal down there, isn't it?
I'm going to bring the table towards you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so today I took advantage of a lovely afternoon to walk up the east bank of the Thames inside Port Meadow and to go probably about 3/4 of the way to Wolvercote. And I showed that the ground is now dry enough to do so, which is great. And I may or may not have passed Blackjack's Hole, assuming it actually exists. See you next time.